ended up just getting a hold of some pills, started drinking. And the next thing I know, I dove off of a 3-story balcony. Woke up in a hospital.
Holy
and
shit.
yeah.
This is the I Am Redemption podcast, and today I have one of my homeboys from the gym. He was a big inspiration to me, whether he knows it or not. One of the most cool, down-to-earth dudes that I know. My buddy, Mr. Sam Vaughan. How we doing, bro?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Of
really
course,
appreciate it.
Of course. Sam is a bodybuilder I got to know in a gym called Big Tex in North Austin. He was one of the few people that would be the 4 a.m. crew in there. There was
only like 5 of us.
There wasn't many of us, so we all got pretty cool and pretty tight. But Sam was like a good lesson for me. Stepping into Big Tex. Big Tex is like a big bodybuilder, powerlifting gym. It could be intimidating for some people to walk into, especially you see Sam. I'm used to getting judged off my appearance, but you see Sam, he's a big motherfucker. He's tatted up, ends up being one of the coolest, most down-to-earth dudes I know. Soaked up a lot of lifting techniques and a lot of workouts and stuff from him. Pleasure to have gotten to know him. I'm very excited to have you here today, brother.
Oh, thank you. It's good.
Dude, your story's crazy. I know you're in a band, Realms of Death.
Realms of Death.
And then he's shared with me. I can't wait to hear about it more today. But he's shared with me that he's had his ups and downs, and he's had his moments of redemption and stuff like that. So I can't wait to dive in, dude. Where did everything start for you?
So as far as bodybuilding got concerned, kind of happened by a fluke. I trained once with a buddy of mine who was a competitive bodybuilder. He at one point was like, "Hey, you train a lot. Would you mind doing some posing with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" And next thing you know, he's like, "Oh man, you're pretty good at this. Maybe you should kind of, maybe look into getting involved in into competing." So what was really odd is I signed up for my first show. During that first show, I was married, and my ex-wife ended up leaving me, like during my first prep.
Ooh.
And so it was very strange. And so, I completed the show. We didn't divorce, but we divorced later.
Right.
Once the divorce happened, I kind of had a really dark moment because that was basically like my first relationship, my first marriage, my first breakup.
How old were you at this time?
Let's see, it was like 29 going into 30.
Okay.
So.
And how long have you been working out for?
I started training when I was like 26, 27. But like as far as the competitive side of it, was like right at that point at age 29. Yep.
Right. So you're still relatively young at this point. First serious relationship, and then for those that don't know, I've never done it myself, but I've watched these guys go through it. When it comes to contest prep, you're calorie deficient, you're not feeling the best, you still got to go in there and work out for hours. So it's a mentally and emotionally trying time for sure, right?
And then when what you thought was a support system kind of up and leaves, you're kind of left with, well, now where do I turn?
Right.
And at the time, I just kind of just soldiered on. But when we finally got to the point of actually doing the divorce, I had a very, very difficult time, accepting that loss, mm-hmm. if you will. So shortly after the divorce, I ended up just getting a hold of some pills, started drinking. And the next thing I know, I dove off of a 3-story balcony. Woke up in a hospital.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they kind of walked me through like, hey, we have our assumptions that you were kind of doing something dangerous, so they put me on suicide watch.
Right.
Made it out of all that. It was like shortly after that
You didn't have any, as far as substances and stuff like that, you didn't have any addiction or anything?
No, actually, I started drinking right at that point.
Gotcha.
Just it was like one of the weirdest. I don't know if it was like just an impulse or what, but that's just kind of where I went with it.
Right.
But yeah, shortly after that, I kind of started reanalyzing and kind of started doing a little bit of soul searching. Started kind of asking certain questions of myself. That's just like, okay, like, you know, if I had succeeded, what ultimately would have changed from the situation, other than the fact that, you know, my actual family's the one that's going to be dealing with the loss. Everyone else is just kind of do their own thing.
Right.
So I was just like, wow, that was a very, very immature way of thinking. It was, you know, it could have been a permanent solution for a temporary problem, you know, and, you know, and where I am now is just in such a better place. I mean,
Right.
I have a great girlfriend. We argue every day just the way God intended. But but no, I mean, you know, I think back to those times, you know, where it's like, wow, you know, if I had actually died, there's a lot of cool stuff I would have missed out on. You know,
Right.
a lot of traveling that I, you know, do. Started a new band that's been very fulfilling. You know, getting nationally qualified in bodybuilding. You know, going for my pro card for my weight class. So it's just there's so many things that I could have missed out
Right.
on. You know?
Dude, I just, unfortunately, recently I had somebody very close to me, a family very close to me, and the son ended up taking his life, and I was there when they found the body, and I was there for the mother finding his body, and then his baby's mother finding his body, who's getting ready to give birth any day. And you know, unfortunately, being in the recovery world that I'm in, like, death is something, in the military and all that, death is something that I'm used to. But that was literally the first time I got to see the other end of it, on what it actually does firsthand to the family. And it was, but I've seen some shit. That was one of the most traumatizing things I think I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Just watching these two poor women, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there, like, trying to fight for words on, like, what can I say? You know, how can I make this better? And there's no script for it. There's nothing I could say. But, dude, thank God you didn't end up doing that.
Oh man, yeah, and you know it's actually really funny. The place where I woke up, I had another show that happened, bodybuilding show that happened shortly after that, and I ended up just kind of like freaking out on I took a diuretic for like the first time, and it just basically like just flushed all the fluids out of me, and I was just like I got really really scared. So I was so depleted, exhausted. You know, I call an ambulance. I was like, hey, you know, I just need a ride. I need some fluids. You know, if you could just take me to the hospital, get this done. And I just ended up falling asleep in the ambulance. And I woke up, and the same nurse that was there during the suicide attempt was by the bed. And so when I woke up, I was just like, oh no. And she was like, hey, you're back. I was like,
not like that.
It's a different scenario this time.
Holy shit. So you dove off a third-story balcony.
Yeah, I didn't break a single bone, nothing. Apparently, so what was kind of told to me through, like, I guess the nurse or something, somebody apparently that saw it called, and just, you know, when the ambulance showed up, I was unresponsive, so they were like, okay, we can take him. But I don't know who that was. I've never met the person that saw.
Imagine how that phone call went. Like, hey, I just saw this guy jump off the third-story balcony.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what I'd be like. I'd be that guy dancing in a circle, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But,
no shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why. And then you wake up and it's the same exact
same
nurse as before.
So we had a good laugh about that, and it was pretty funny because even then I accidentally locked myself out of the apartment I was living in at the time too, which was even like more comical when I had called to have a taxi take me back to my apartment, and when I was like, oh hey, I got money, let me just go get it. I was just like, oh no.
No shit.
Yeah, I was so out of my mind that I did that the bottom lock, left the keys on the floor, just walked out. Had to call a locksmith.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what hold on, we gotta pause for 1 second. I think the other guest is here. I'm sorry.
This way. Do you want me to go? What was that idea, Jason? Bring the other guest in.
I have no idea if this is good.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's bad.
No, you're
Sorry.
good, bro. He's a big, tall, jack dude with a beard.
I won't miss him.
And he works out at House of Games.
I know him.
I think he goes around 9 though.
You gonna wait till he gets here, or you wanna keep going?
I'm good. I'm good to keep going. I'm sorry, I've never had to pause before, but he's
you're
just
good.
sitting down in the lobby waiting. I didn't think he'd be this early.
Still rolling whenever you're ready to
Good.
get back into it.
So when did you? So you're into music. When did that all start for you?
So I've been in music the better part of like 20 years of my life. Like I started playing in a band when I was like 16, 17 years old. So I've been through various ones, but this more recent project that I've been doing has actually been probably the most successful as far as like people want us to travel to see us. We recorded outside of Texas we went to California to record, and it's just been a phenomenal experience.
Right.
And
Always the same kind of music since you got in?
yeah, I mean, to a degree, I mean, it's still, metal,
Right.
For the most part, but everything has a little bit of different cadence to it for the genre. So
And you've always been lead singer?
yes, always. I could not pick up an instrument to save my life.
Right. Yeah, I'm not musical for shit. Love music, but I'm not musical for shit.
Yeah. I just yell. That's all I can do. Is just.
How do you never lose? I mean, you trained your voice to do that?
I couldn't even tell you. It's just something that I've never had a problem with.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you ever like lose your voice after a show?
I've gotten hoarse a couple of times because there's been times where times I've written lyrics that they're too jammed too much with words and I don't get enough breath. So like the vocal cords can only take so much.
Right.
But like stuff I have right now, not a problem at all.
Right.
Yeah.
How does that? Before we had started rolling today, you were talking about the tour you had just went on and the kind of the conflict between the bodybuilding lifestyle and then the tour lifestyle.
Yeah, so, the bodybuilding's very strict, very regimented. So it's just, for me, it's like, okay, it's at this time I eat this time. At this time I'm training. At this time I'm taking in this. At this time I'm taking in this much water, this. When you're on the road, that is thrown out the door 100%. Mm-hmm. So you are just winging it. And I had prepared food enough for what I thought was going to last the whole time. At one point, we left my cooler alone too long, and the meat went bad.
Oh,
so
no
all
shit.
I had was carbs, and I was just like, well, at least I made it a few days with food. And
Right.
so then like I had to kind of like think on my feet, use protein powders a lot of the time.
Stopping at Chipotle every time you see it.
No, and that was the funny thing. I didn't see a single Chipotle when we were on the road. The guys were like wanting to stop at like Taco Bell and stuff, and I'd just be like sitting there putting oatmeal in a shaker bottle with
Right.
the protein powder and just be drinking it, and they'd be like, "Don't you want to eat some of this?" I'm like, "I can't."
Right.
Like,
It's not that I don't want to.
yeah, it's not that I don't want to. It's just I'm not going to.
Right. Damn. So if you got to the point with each, right? Bodybuilding is where you want it to be. Your music career is where you want it to be. But you understand that you got to pursue one, right? You got to choose.
Oof.
Are you going to try to juggle them for as long as you can?
Yeah, as long as I can. I would definitely. Like, it was funny, even like I think we were kind of speaking on it a little bit before we started, that my band was like, hey, next run we got to make sure we have time for Sam to get some gym sessions in and
Right.
have enough time to not do so much driving, just route it a little bit better. But yeah, I need to start bringing free weights with me. That'll probably alleviate a lot of that.
There you go. You could be like The Rock, dude, and just travel with your own portable gym everywhere.
Let's hope it gets that big, right?
Dude, it's funny. Like we go on. Everybody's different in the gym. Everybody lives a different lifestyle and stuff like that. When I travel or anywhere, first thing I'm doing is like looking up what gyms are near where I'm at so I can work out. A lot of people use that as their time to like get away from the gym or take time off, and I'm like, this might be vacation, but this is what I enjoy more than anything. Why would I not do it on vacation?
Right. And it's funny, when we were on the road, I was looking for gyms, but the problem was like the time schedule from when we were playing, when we had to set up, when we had to load in, when we were, because even then, like, promoters required certain time frames on certain
Right.
things. And even then we had to be, over at certain places at certain times. It just didn't happen.
Damn.
It was frustrating. So frustrating.
I bet. So without the pressure of like getting ready for a show and prep and stuff like that, what is the gym to you as far as mental health goes?
Oh, man. Well, that's a good place to decompress. I mean, it's probably, one of the few places outside of being on stage on either a bodybuilding, aspect or, music aspect where you can be 100% present in that moment.
Right.
Like, I don't ever go into the gym and go, oh man, when I get done with this, I gotta pay bills. I gotta this. I just like, no, as soon as I step foot in the gym, like, it's just gym time. There's
Right.
nothing else going on outside. It's just, this is my world.
Right. I actually brought you up to a client yesterday. I was training a bunch of guys in a group setting or whatever, and there's a young kid, and he like stays attached at my hip, and he comes up and he's always asking me questions, which I love. That's why I'm there. I love people that want to ask questions because it means they want to get better. And at one point he's like, dude, I'm sorry if I keep asking you too many questions. And I was like, nah, man, like please, like I wish more people would ask questions like you. And I told him about you, and I was like, bro, let me tell you, the gym I used to work at, there was this bodybuilder, and I was like, we all got cool with him, and I could be mid-set, and if he came walking over and I seen him kind of tilt his head looking, I knew, like, I got super excited because he was coming over to help me with my form. He was showing me a different way to do it. He was teaching me a new exercise, and luckily, like, online you see there's a lot of people that do Joey Swole and stuff like that, are all about gym positivity, and, like, our 4 a.m. crew at Big Techs, like everybody was super supportive and all that, and that's what the gym is for me, dude. It's my fucking sanctuary, and you meet some of the coolest people ever.
Well, and even then you think about this, like, the gym is a place where ultimately you are trying to better yourself in one way, shape, or form, right? So, even like, I mean, there's been times there's a couple of really overweight people that train at the gym I'm at. And I always make time to just be like, yo, hey, always seeing you in here, keep it up. You got, and chat up with them, because that's what this is all about. Like, not only is it for me, but it's for everybody there. It's, this is an upbuilding environment. I don't ever want to go into a place and not feel welcome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, like, it's like you say, like, someone had to give me this knowledge, and I'm more than happy to share it.
Right.
And not only that, it's just, sometimes those questions things ends up leading into something else where it's like, oh, I needed that more than he needed it.
Yep.
Like kind of like how we discussed your story. Like, man, I would have never known anything about you had it not started from, hey man, how do I get a bigger chest? Like,
right.
Then we go into like actual real life stuff. I'm like, man, this has been a huge blessing for me.
Right.
And it's been something that's helped me like keep me motivated and positive through life. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all that.
Dude, there's so many people. That's what kept me away. I say it all the time, but it kept me away from the gym for the longest time because I didn't want to. I was a runner. I wasn't lifting weights, and I was afraid to go in there and look stupid. I thought everybody would be looking at me like I didn't know what I was doing and stuff like that. And then luckily, life circumstances pushed me in there, and I figured it out and everything like that. But if I see somebody bigger or whatever coming into the gym, like I get excited because it's like, fuck yeah, like this is where you should be. And so there's a couple people in my gym, two people in particular, and they're both missing limbs. And I'll admit I haven't said anything to them yet because they're like, they got the headphones in. I don't want to bug them, but like I want to walk up to people like that and be like, yo, you're an inspiration, because there's so many days where there was nothing wrong with me, but it was just my ego or whatever wouldn't let me walk foot in here. And for you to be able to do that, think about all the people that are just hitting the snooze button today and using life as an excuse when it's like, these motherfuckers in here with real excuses, and they're not letting it stop them.
And they're not even using it as a crutch either. Just
right.
like, yo, they're unstoppable.
Right.
And that's the other thing too, just the willpower. Mm-hmm. That's something too that I don't think a lot of people, think about when you go into the gym. It's like, okay, like it's like I want to lose some weight. Well, great. Once you complete that, then you start realizing, like, dude, just certain things in life are just easy and very obtainable.
Yeah.
But it all takes one step. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that first step showing up is the hardest part. And once you get in there and you get comfortable, you start meeting people. You know what I mean? It's
then
funny
you
now.
look forward to it, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can't wait to go back.
Dude, 100%. There's people I don't even know their names, but I know their full life story. And the days where they're not there, it's like, uh-oh, where's he at? Like, is everything okay? You know what I mean? Like, there's that camaraderie there for sure.
Yeah, we have a guy that recently, he's one of our, at where my girlfriend and I train at. He's a buddy of mine. He also competes. And we hadn't seen him for like a week, and she and I were like, oh, I hope he's okay. Then randomly we kind of saw his car this morning, come to find out, he's like, oh yeah, my car had trouble, and then I was on peak week, and he's like, I didn't want to, put mileage on a rental. We were just so happy that he was doing okay.
Right, right. That's what's up. The damn, what was it? There was a part I was gonna talk about. I just forgot. What would you say? What would you say is the hardest part about a bodybuilding prep for you? The most challenging, difficult aspect of it.
I haven't really thought about that in a minute. I mean, for me, as soon as I program myself to do something, I'm just going to do it.
That's what you're doing?
I guess the one thing I could think is just like, maybe if something kind of happens as like a spur of the moment thing, like say, for example, like, oh, well, like, okay, I'm prepping for a show, but then maybe some kind of out of state show happens, just having to accommodate to that and fix the game plan, so to speak, to make sure it still works out fine.
Right.
I guess that would probably be it.
Does the calorie deficit mess with your sleep at all or anything?
I don't know. I tend to like, I'm a very weird person. Like, you could stand me in a corner and I'd probably fall asleep.
Right.
But I will say this, once you do start taking away the calories, obviously there is a little bit of brain fog, but it's just an adjustment period. But I know a lot of people do struggle with that once you start getting into low calories. Some people, once you start removing carbs, they're just like zombies.
Right.
But I tend to do okay, so I don't know. We'll see how this prep goes. Right.
You're built for
every
it.
Every prep's a little different though. So,
right. Dude, what is it like? So, I think a lot of people would take a look at you. That you and I have talked about this before. Like, I always reference this meme that I saw, and it was like, showed, I think, the statue of David, and it was like me when I decided I was going to go to the gym and achieve the physique of a Greek god. And then it shows another picture, and it was like me when I realized all I did was give myself a horrible case of body dysmorphia. Right. You know what I mean? And so, like, somebody would look at you and be like, oh my God, he's fucking perfect, dude. He's jacked. He's this, that, and the other thing. But it's such a different view of what you see in the mirror, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, to me, it's like a never-ending project.
Right.
Right? So for me, I've just, I still have a certain, I'm just kind of curious how far my body is able to go with it.
Right.
But I will say the body dysmorphia is a real thing, because just the other day, I mean, we stopped at the largest Superman statue when we were on tour, and my guitarist was like, "Hey Sam, do a front double shot." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I took it, and then like he posted the picture. I was like, "Is that me? Is that me?" And I was like, "I'm a lot bigger than I thought I was."
Oh, all right. So it was better.
Yeah, it was a little bit better. I was kind of surprised, because I see myself in one light, and then when I saw it in comparison to everything, I was like, "Oh, dang, look pretty thick."
So for your, I don't know what it's like again, but I would have to imagine the first time you step on stage and you're in your little bikini show, or what do they call it?
The bodybuilding show, the posing trunks.
Yeah. Oh, so you're in the class where there's trunks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, they call it trunks, but it's just like, but yeah, they're basically just like bikini boots.
Okay. So the board shorts is what, physique?
It's physique.
Okay.
Men's physique.
And then your class is?
So I'm gonna be going classic physique this round. I got qualified in bodybuilding, but I'm probably gonna still do both.
Okay.
I'm gonna try classic physique and open class bodybuilding. See how I do.
Right. So when you stepped out on stage for the first time, are you feeling insecure? Like, what's your mindset? Are you taking a look at everybody else, feeling like is there like panic, like, fuck, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I could have did this better? Or are you walking out there super confident?
So it's funny, my first show, when I reflect on the first show I did, I was a little lost as far as like, how long am I supposed to be doing this? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, for example, whenever they set you up, you're like, okay, gentlemen line up, and then like, all right, quarter turn.
Right.
And I turned the opposite way, so I was like facing somebody. I was like, oh, okay. It gets a little bit of laughter from the crowd, but it's like, in your head, you're like, oh man, is that going to be problematic? I don't know.
Do they take off for that?
Sometimes they do. It just depends though. Like a lot of times they're like, if it's like your first show, they're just like, it happens,
Right.
But if you're like, if they see that you're a competitor and you've been doing that for a long time, and they're like, what are you doing, bro?
Right.
But I will say this, going out there, I honestly didn't. Some people have told me that like they'll go out and they're like terrified inside, but you would never see. I'm very used to being in front of crowds because of the music industry
Right.
that I was in.
Right.
So it's just, to me, it's just like I'm just swapping me having a mic in my hand with some guys with, instruments for I'm just, posing and, moving. So it's I mean, to me, I've never really thought much of it
Right.
outside of that. But the first one's just making the little mistakes of which way am I turning? Where am I going?
Right. I watched my buddy Jackson recently. You would know him to see him. He used to work out with the Big Techs with us sometimes, but he just did his first show a couple months back.
Oh, yeah?
And in South Austin. And dude, I was blown away by like his stage presence. Like he looked so comfortable up there, and like I mean, even with his posing and the way he's moving, like he had swagger to it.
Cool.
You know what I mean? And like it helped me start to understand where it's like, oh, if you have that, you can sometimes overcome somebody. You know what I mean? That they may look a little bit, but a fraction better. But if you have that stage presence and stuff like that, that all goes into it.
It does, and actually, like if you're confident enough, it can win judges over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, there's times where some people have had like a little bit better physique than me, but I've displayed and moved where it kind of drew their eye to me,
Mm-hmm.
and then like, oh well, forget the other guy,
Right.
want to watch this.
So you're used to being on stage with the music and the bodybuilding. What would you say is the fundamental difference of being on each stage for you? Like, what do you get from it?
So it's kind of funny. I think both of them is an art form period. So one of which is like, creating sound waves, right? You're sonically putting sound out there and people are kind of like receiving it. The other is just like you're just displaying a body. By the same token, it's like, a lot of people kind of see that and they can somewhat identify and be like, wow, that's something that you put that much time, energy, effort into this thing. And here's the other thing too, you're just bearing it all for us. And same thing with music, lyrically you could be, touching some very heavy subject matter and it means something to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they can kind of identify with you on that.
Right.
I mean, there's times where people will be singing my lyrics on stage and I'm like, cool, this is awesome. I mean, and then to the same degree, 2 shows ago, someone told me that there was like children in the audience that were like yelling my name. I never met these kids, mind
Right.
you, but they were like, yeah, Sam, number 14. Ah, they were like mimicking my posing, which I was like, dude, that is awesome. When you're just that, if someone's that, impressed with whatever
Right.
you're doing.
For sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like myself included, the gym is my mental health medication, right? And so, music can be that for some people too. You know what I mean? It's that outlet where you can get that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
When you were going through your adversity and your divorce, and you find yourself basically suicidal, but you were involved with both of those things at the time. So what was it for you that brought you out of that?
Well, a couple of it was just reprogramming my thinking, and then like
Just mindset.
yeah, exactly. And I'll say this, like reshifting the focus and be like, okay, like maybe I should, I mean, it's easy to kind of, what they would say is like, delve into work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and if I think back to my first show, I didn't look all that impressive, but I was like, well, you know what? I got placed 4th my first show. Well, let me just revamp up, and then let's just really focus even more on that. And then the other thing too is that you find a lot of joy in just the simplicity of like just doing your repetitions, doing your routine. And a lot of times it's funny. I mean, this is, man, I don't know, many years ago, but where I'm at now, it's like, man, things are so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more that I just kept staying in the gym,
Yeah.
right? It's less stressful.
Yeah.
And not only that, I don't even have to like think. And not only that, it's like I used to put so much emphasis on certain things, and when you just kind of simplify everything, keep it basic, usually guides you in a little bit easier path.
Dude, hands down. That's when in my life with where I was at with addiction and stuff like that, like I discovered running, but that was my routine every day, and then it segued into the gym. But that set me up for success every day with life, just because I needed to keep my routine. I had found something that was so important to me where that was my staple, and I built everything else built everything else around it. And, you know, it translates out into regular everyday life. You know what I mean? Like, if you can have the structure for that, then I build my life kind of around that. It structures everything else. You know what I mean? I'm in bed early. I drink water all day. I eat healthy. Like, these were all unintended side effects of what I got from this one thing. In the gym, in all honesty, like, it's funny. I was never in love with the process of running. I liked running. I liked that I was good at it. I liked doing really well at races. But I didn't love the process. I didn't love being in 110 degrees, running 90 miles a week and stuff like that.
Right.
The gym, for me, like, I don't, for whatever reason, I don't have aspirations to ever do a show or anything like that. But I fell in love with the process. You know what I mean? Just the everyday. And like you said earlier, there's no, it's an endless pursuit. You know what I mean? You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the most perfect form or anything like that. You can just continue to get better.
Right.
You know, and it starts off, you're getting better by miles, and then it becomes this game of inches. But, like, I'm obsessed with it, and I try to think, how did I operate 35 years of my life not having ever done it?
Right. And then even, like, if you look at this, like, what if this outlet was gone?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I often wondered, you know, I was going to ask you, just out of curiosity, how'd you deal when the pandemic hit?
I was lifting my couch. I had that was, like, right when I had started getting serious in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything got bought up real quick. But I remember piecing together, like, I had one 25-pound dumbbell, one 45-pound plate. I had bands. I was just trying to be creative. It was awesome.
Me too.
I've already started stockpiling stuff in case it happens again.
Smart. Yeah, I have not stockpiled anything, but I had a resistance band and a pull-up bar. That was it.
Right, right. We met shortly after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right when it opened back up?
Yep.
I think I started going to Big Tex right when, the only reason I started going to Big Tex, I've been there a couple times, but it was when Snowpocalypse in Austin happened. And it was the only place open. And you could shower there, and you could get water. And I was like, oh, perfect. I'll come be here all day.
Yep.
Perfect. So, dude, you were able to pull yourself out of that, and it's just become this stapled part of your life and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and, you know, the other thing, too, is, like, it's just kind of how we met, you know. It was organic. But this is something, too, you know, a lot of it ends up being, like, you know, like I say, if the gym's an upbuilding place, you know, there might be people that need to hear your story, you know. And so whenever these, you know, people are just coming up to talk to you, you know, sometimes it segues into this and then ends up just being this really big experience for everybody.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, dude, for sure. I'm trying to get the Meef twins on the podcast.
Oh man, those guys are awesome.
Brother, you know the Meef twins? They're like the most electric fucking dudes ever.
100%. And it's so funny. Sometimes I keep forgetting how young they are.
Yeah. Dude, they came to see me at Gold's one day. They just popped up, and I was so excited.
They've came to a couple of my shows.
Yeah,
they drove out.
They told me. I try to explain it to people. I'm like, these dudes are little prodigies, man. They're fucking competitive eaters. They're bodybuilders. They're fucking rappers. They're
so methodical too.
But they're just such, like, good, wholesome fucking dudes. Yeah. They don't swear, like, nothing. They're just by the book. They're great.
Yeah.
What so music, bodybuilding, life in general. Who are your inspirations?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people in, like, the music industry that I, you know, am just kind of fascinated by. The vocalist of Integrity, his name's Dwid. In fact, it was actually really funny how I ended up booking them for, like, a birthday thing for me. Mm-hmm. So we played a show with them. But just talking with him, I'm like for the time when he came out with his band and the reception and stuff, it's always interesting just to kind of, like, hear people be like, yeah, just stick to the course, you're going to be fine. Right. You know, and sometimes I think people just need to hear that message. Mm-hmm. So whenever I meet people that just, like, are about it, and they're like, and especially with, like, Dwid, he was very much like, I don't really care what people think. I don't really care how I'm presenting myself. I'm just me. I'm Dwid. And that's really stuck with me a lot. Like, just, you know, and I think stuff like that's very important. But, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of people that I point to and just say, wow, that's someone I, you know, admire and stuff. I have met a couple of people in the past that I used to. Mm-hmm. It ended up being, like, one of the biggest disappointments of
they
like,
say that never meet
your idol or whatever your hero or whatever. Right. Yeah. So I mean, I remember when I was, like, a kid, I met, like, Shawn Michaels, the wrestler.
Yeah.
and he was so pilled out.
Oh, really?
That it was so sad. Like whenever I reflect on that, I'm like, man, how did he even function? Like,
Right.
But
yeah, especially were you in wrestling as a kid?
I used to.
Dude, I was diehard.
Oh, okay. So you know exactly. Okay, so it was like right around the time when he was like going to wrestle Stone Cold for the belt.
Okay.
It was right before he saw his way out.
Right.
Right. And he was like so.
At WrestleMania, I think I
Yes,
was there.
that was it. Yeah. So I met him at a meet and greet, and he was just out of his mind, and it was just like the worst experience for me.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm your biggest fan. Get out of my face.
Really?
And I'm just like, oh.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn. It's crazy now. There's so much out now with like Dark Side of the Ring and stuff like that.
Right, and
It's
you would
like,
never have known. Like
the
as a kid, I was just like, oh, what is going? I had no clue what was
Right,
going on.
right.
You know.
Dude, so the WWF at the time would come to Youngstown, where I'm from, and they'd do like house shows.
Uh-huh.
So they're not televised, and so my mom actually worked in the building. Her office was in the building that they would come and wrestle, and so she could take me down near the locker room and all that. And so it'd be like me and two of my friends. We'd have our WWF shirts on, and the security would try to stop her, and they're like, they know very well what we're doing. She's like, oh, we're just trying to get to the office. They're going to help me move boxes. And they're like, yeah, all right, go ahead. And so I remember I met King Kong Bundy, Jeff Jarrett, Bob Backlund. I'm trying to think who else was there. Do you remember Bob Backlund?
I do remember Bob Backlund.
Dude,
his submission hold used to scare me.
He was the biggest asshole to me.
Really?
Yeah, I asked for it. King Kong Bundy was awesome, gave me his autograph. Jeff Jarrett was cool, gave me his autograph. Bob Backlund put me on the spot. I'm in like second grade, and he's like, name me all 50 presidents.
Oh,
and I was like,
man.
George Washington, and then whoever it was at the time, he was like, yeah, no, and just walked away. But now I realize he was staying in character. I'm sure he's not that big of an asshole, but I was like, fuck that guy.
Well, you know, and that's funny that you say that, because back then, you know, at the business, you had to protect that, right? Keep the charade up.
Yeah.
Because you know, there wasn't no internet really, you
Right.
know, like as far as to what it is today.
Right, for sure. Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Oh man, anybody in the clique, I was all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 37. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot my age.
So the clique, that was like,
Sure.
so you were in high school.
Yeah. Well, no. So like, I mean,
Or no, you would have been in grade school.
I was
then.
in grade school,
So I was
yeah.
in high school, and that all started. That was like the second resurgence with The Rock. And,
yeah, exactly.
And Stone Cold, but dude, Shawn Michaels was my. I remember I was like I was fucked up when Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty through the
Oh yeah,
Brutus the Butter
with the-
Beefcake window. I was
Yeah.
like, no. I'd have my little WWF magazine, and the one that they used on that skit and everything like that.
Oh man.
Wrestling. I think I've said this on a podcast before, but I remember being in second grade, and my mother and I were on our way either home from Columbus or to Columbus. She was going to Ohio State, and I remember reading the magazine, and I looked up, and I was like, Mom, can I be a wrestler when I grow up? And she goes, as long as you go to school, you can be anything you want to be. I'm like, oh, she said yes. She said yes.
Did you ever pursue any like training for wrestling and stuff? No.
I went into the military, started getting fucked up, and then
Fair enough.
didn't ever still live that wrestler's lifestyle.
Yeah,
in a way.
clearly.
But
Partying.
but dude, there's not a Sunday that goes by. We'll watch all the wrestling documentaries and stuff like that, and I walk around my house all Sunday like, fuck, I should have been a wrestler. Damn it. But so I kind of asked you this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta pick one. Music stage, bodybuilding stage.
Oh. Gun in my head, it's gonna be
I
music.
was gonna say gun to your head, but the fact you had talked about suicide before, I wasn't gonna go with it. So I'm glad you did.
We can joke about that.
Okay.
It didn't happen. We
Right,
can joke
right.
about it. But yeah, I'd have to say music.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, that is zero effort for me. My girlfriend, you know, she could attest to that. Like, in fact, when she first saw me on stage, she was actually just like, I can't believe that's you.
Right.
You know.
I remember seeing the first video you had ever sent me, and I'm like, Sam, the like real dude, soft spoken, just down to earth, cool as hell, and then you see him on stage, you're like, oh shit, like, he's got different gears.
Yep.
So you'd really pick music.
I think I would, man. I mean, the thing is like bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding. It is a sport that you will give, but ultimately may not give back to you. Mm-hmm. So you just have to love it. And I do love it. But knowing that I have music, and a lot of people get behind it, and I mean, a lot of people get behind me bodybuilding too, and they're really supportive on it. But if I had to pick, it might be music on that.
You could do it for a lot longer in life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Music. You see those guys like what's his name from the Rolling Stones?
Oh, I was about to just go. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
What's his name?
Mick Jagger.
Yeah, Mick Jagger. He's what, 80-some years old out there. He's in better shape than most people in their 20s.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, and even then, it's like you can keep riding and doing stuff till the wheels fall off.
Right. Damn. What would you weigh if you were just a normal regular person, not working out, not eating?
120 pounds. Really? That's what I started at 27, 120 pounds.
What do you weigh now, too?
I'm like 213 now.
Dude, what would you do if you looked in the mirror and you were 120 pounds?
Dude, I'd be shocked. I'd be like, this is a very
slim. Back up to that third floor balcony.
This is a slim. Yeah, right.
I'm kidding.
No, I might actually just fly away.
Right.
I won't actually.
Dude, I remember watching you had surgery on your foot.
Oh yeah.
And you were gone for a couple months, and you came back, and I just remember I was like, Jesus Christ, like I don't know if I could take that mentally. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say this: it was very tough because I'm also used to being very much a utility to people. So like whenever that was gone, and I'm just like literally just couch ridden, and I mean, you at least reached out and like, hey man, you want to maybe give me some pointers and train me and stuff. At the time, I was like, dude, that was like a good outlet for me because I got to live vicariously through you. But yeah, that was rough. That was real rough.
Dude, I'm glad you noticed that, because that's, when people are going through their adversity and stuff like that, people, if somebody is not a direct use to you, if I don't see you going around in the gym every day and we're not chatting it up like that, people forget.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know that's what I'd want. I'd want somebody to still reach out to me and
and I mean, you've always been like that, man. Yeah. You've always reached out to me and just been like, hey man, you good? And so it's been great, man.
See, the gym can bond people for life, for sure. What would you say, both bodybuilding and music, what's your ultimate goal for both? Best case scenario, your dream.
Well, bodybuilding, I'd love to, get my FBB pro card. I'd love to coach more competitors. I do like coaching. I do coach as well. So that's, I'd like to, maybe venture into kind of using that more for like a business aspect of life, and maybe let that be a, a full-time gig if possible.
Right.
Band, I'd just like to push that as far as possible. Tour, do, get the record label thing going. I mean, we're not signed to anything at this point, but I'd love to be on a record label and to just push the music out, get a little bit more, international tours.
I was just gonna say that. Have you guys ever been overseas?
Overseas, no. We did get offered to do a tour run in Mexico, but I'm the only one with a passport apparently. So I'm ready. They're not. Right. So, but we are looking into doing that.
Now I'm coming from an uneducated standpoint on this, but your genre of music, the concerts and stuff that I've seen of like over in Germany and Russia and shit, there's a whole different reaction over there than the States.
And and that's the funny thing. I think Europe would actually really like a lot of our music.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Dude, me and my wife all the time, we'll pull up Metallica in Russia or some of those shows over there, and it's like just a sea of a million people, and they are going ape shit.
And that's the thing too. I mean, I've talked with a couple of some musicians from like Belgium, and they've been like, yeah, there's music here, but it's like a big deal when there's like something happening. Like it's like everyone's just shows up and supports.
Right. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen while on stage?
The craziest thing? I mean,
there's got to be some wild shit happening out there.
I mean, every now and then there's some fights that break out and stuff, but I mean, I haven't really seen anything like nothing too crazy. Yeah, I don't really have.
Stop it! There's got to be something. Will you step out for a second so he can tell us the real? No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, like honestly, like outside of just like some brawls that break out every now and then,
Right.
like that's about it. I mean, just because sometimes there's some pit beef going on, and then
Yeah.
it just grows and grows and grows.
I can't get down with the mosh pit shit.
Nah,
No.
No.
Well, I was at it. Do you know who Yellow Wolf is?
I think I've heard that before.
So he's a white rapper, but he got signed by Eminem, and he does
okay.
kind of like southern rock, rap, country-ish stuff like that. He's very good, but I didn't ever realize there's a couple songs in his shows that breaks out in a mosh pit, and I didn't know it the very first time, and then I forgot the second time, but it just breaks out from out of nowhere, and all of a sudden people are starting pushing and stuff like that, and I mean, I back up real quick, like I'm not getting involved in that, but
And seeing ours, it's not necessarily push monster. There's like people are kicking, like punching, backhanding.
did
Like-
that all come from punk? Or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it all kind of stemmed from punk rock, and so it's like weird. It's slowly like, it's strange how like it's sort of adapted from like dancing, and then there's still kind of a dance aspect to it because there's certain time signatures that would like trigger people to do certain stuff. But I mean, I remember the first time I took my girlfriend to a show that we played, and she was just like, "Are they just beating each other up out there?" I was like, "Sometimes. I mean, it can happen, but."
Right. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny. It's like organized chaos, right?
Right.
Like, and a lot of times sometimes it's just a matter of like moving. I would say just like it's aggressive music, but it's like just energy passing around. Really, it's kind of
Right.
it's kind of interesting.
Do you think I've heard musicians describe it, and it's almost like the crowd is like a living, breathing thing. Like
Oh,
we're talking about
absolutely.
energy going,
And
stuff like
especially
that.
like the shows that we play. A lot of the times there's no like the weird thing about, and a lot of times with the the thrash and hardcore and metal scene, a lot of the times it's like everything kind of blends together where it's just one big experience. So it's not just like you're, especially at my shows, there's times where, people get up on the stage and stage dive. They'll take the mic from me. I'll let them sing. Like, it's like we're a part of this thing together.
Right.
And a lot of times ends up being a lot of fun stories to share with each other
Right.
down the road. Yeah.
It's wild. So you've told us about your rock bottom moment when in the midst of the show and you're looking at killing yourself. Do you have a moment of redemption? Do you have a moment that's happened since then where you just kind of took a look around and you're like, I'm back. I fucking made it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. There's been a few times, like just through through various stages post all that, where just some people have reached out to me and then been like, "Oh man, I'm going through this and this," and then I just immediately get to walking through it and help them navigate. And that's where I'm like, dude, there's times where like, you sit there and kind of go, okay, there's a reason why, like, I didn't die.
Right.
People need help.
Yep.
So maybe I'm meant for more.
Right.
So, and a lot of times, like, I especially, like, with, a lot of people that I know that have gone through some harsh breakups and stuff, I help them navigate it and then find an outlet. And then
Right.
that's just kind of where it all keeps going. Kind of like, I'm sure, like, with you, like, I'm sure you've talked with countless people, that have been like, yo, I went on this bender on stuff. And then you're like, okay, well, hey, here's a quick little, I can get you through this a little bit easier if you just
Right.
reshift the way you're thinking about things.
Yeah.
And then,
Dude, you totally unprompted. You just encapsulated the whole reason this podcast exists, the whole reason I do what I do, and that's me trying to help people understand. Like everybody goes through something. We're all recovering from something. Everybody, we said it before the podcast. Everybody has unique life experience. You've been through things I've never been through. I've been through things you'll never been through.
right.
To me, it's just the most selfish thing in the world. If you've been through adversity and you've had a tough life and you've been lucky enough to get on the other side of that and you just go on and live your life and you don't ever use that experience to help people, then what the fuck was it all for?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's I've probably said it every episode, but that's where my life changed. Once I understood that I can use my experience to help others, it made it all worthwhile. And not to get in all honesty, man, like if God has a plan for me and that was the plan to go through all this adversity so I could use it to help people, I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. I would. People ask me sometimes like, "Oh, would you ever change anything?" I'm like, absolutely not.
Right.
Never. 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 Never.
That's
Don't
it.
ever look at a mistake or something in the past as something you got to be ashamed of. If you grew from it, dude, that's where it was meant to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Right. Without the, I say this quote all the time, but without the test, there is no testimony. You know what I mean? If we haven't been through shit, we have no story to tell. But, dude, I got some fun questions for you.
Okay.
You know, we talked about some heavy shit and stuff like that. So I just want you to throw out just first word that comes to mind, or your first initial answer when it comes. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Peanut butter.
Chicken or beef?
Beef.
Beef. You're a beef guy?
Yeah.
Is that your main
source of protein.
Main
Beef.
protein?
Beef. I will do beef every day.
How many times a day you eat?
4.
That's it?
4. No, 4 or 5. Depends. But 4.
Bigger meals?
I mean, they're portioned properly, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily big.
So how many calories?
Like about 3 to 5, depending. Like right now, it's changing because I'm on.
Dude, 5,000 calories in 4 meals, that's a lot.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like a lot when I'm eating it.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Can only pick one for the rest of your life. Barbells or dumbbells?
Dumbbells.
Dumbbells? You like barbells, though.
I do. But if my joints can't take it, you said for the rest of your life, I have to think in the future. It's like, will my elbows take it? Probably not. Dumbbells it is.
I don't know if you remember this, but my buddy Lance and I were working out one time, and you asked me to come spot you on barbell shoulder press.
Uh-huh.
And I think at the time you had like 225 on there.
Yeah.
And I spotted you for that, and you repped it out. And I walked away, and I was like, what the fuck? He just shoulder pressed 225. Then you put 315 on and asked me to come back over and spot you. Am I wrong?
No, you're all right.
Right, you did that. And I was just like, what the fuck? How's that even possible?
I was in good spirits that day. You know, like I don't always go for 315, but when I do, you'll be there.
Right. I appreciate it. It was cool to watch. It gave me something to strive for. What would you say is your fight song? You're walking out tonight for the WWE World Heavyweight title. You're fighting Brock Lesnar. What are you walking out to?
Man,
what gets you going?
What would be it? I have 2.
Okay.
All right. So, one, oddly enough, would be Have Heart, the Machinist.
Who's that?
It's this Boston hardcore band.
Okay.
Yeah. If you ever get a shot, just
I'm going to peep it out on the way home.
All right. So that's one.
All right.
The other one would probably be, man, see, now I'm going back and forth. But that was my go-to. That was like the first, because it just...
Mine changes daily.
Yeah, so. It's because honestly, like right when you said that, I was like, man, what would I be super hyped to hear? But then I started hearing that drum roll. I'll just leave it at that. That'll work.
That's the one you're going with?
This one.
All right, perfect. What would you, if you were a comic book character, which one would you be?
You mean as far as like Marvel or DC?
Yeah.
Huh.
It could be the one you want to be or the one you think best represents you.
It's weird. I think a lot of aspects in life, and I innately just go to Watchmen.
Oh, really? That's an obscure one.
Yeah.
Which one? Which guy?
Rorschach.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, Rorschach's the coolest one.
But he's also very dark, and I tend to have that weird dark.
Let's dig a little deeper into this. That's an interesting choice. Rorschach. No, dude. I think Rorschach's dope.
Yeah.
What made you pick him? Just because of the darkness?
A little bit of that, and also it's like the funny thing is, when I think about a lot of like stuff, he's pretty resourceful, all things considered, because he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not anything, but he's very resourceful, and he doesn't rely on the gadgetry, like, or anything. So I think that's kind of where my brain innately goes.
I like it. Good, solid choice right there. What is your favorite comedy movie of all time?
Oh, favorite comedy movie of all time? Man. I couldn't say innately, but I will say...
or we could just go favorite movie if that's easier.
Favorite? That's a lot.
First one that comes to
mind. I will say this. One of my top horror movies is The Thing.
Oh, I forgot you're a horror movie buff.
I am a horror movie buff.
That's right. I forgot. You always had the cut-off horror movie shirts
on. Yep.
Okay. The Thing.
The Thing.
That's an old one, right?
John Carpenter's The Thing. The 80s one. Not the black and white one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Oh man, talk about dark. That movie's dark.
Is it?
Yeah. There's no hope.
Dude, my wife and I, my wife and I watched. Do you know that movie Snowpiercer?
No. What's that?
I watched it for the first time last night. You wouldn't. It's like they're all trapped on a train. The
Okay.
world is on the train, and it just keeps going around this revolution because it's like too cold outside. Did not realize how dark that movie is. But
Oh man.
very dark. That just made me think of it. There's
You know
one-
what? I'll give you a comedy one. Let's lighten it up.
Okay.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, good shit. All right, now these are just first word that comes to mind. Spirituality.
Meditation.
Do you meditate?
Yes.
Like sit down, like
No, actually, I always think of meditating as just clearing your mind.
right?
Right. And it is there's a lot of breathing techniques. So a lot of that with the gym, same thing. You know, I think that's another form of meditation. When I'm in between songs on a stage, and there's just that like, just breathing, just kind of,
Yeah.
just clearing everything out. It's
Right.
all coherent.
Meditation is somewhat big in my world, and I would always try to tell people like I'm not a good sit down and meditate type person. But when I'd go run, that to me was like the only time where I could absolutely clear my mind, and without even really thinking about stuff, I could still process it, and like I always came to better conclusions, better decisions, could articulate what I was feeling better, always at the end of that, and that's what meditation means to me. But some people didn't like that answer because you're not like sitting there being silent, completely clearing,
Lighting
your
your
mind and stuff.
incense and
Yeah, right. All right, cardio,
cardio. Adult time.
adult time.
Adult activities.
It took me a minute to get that.
It's okay.
I noticed. I know, the most cardio I'd ever see you do is 5-10 minutes on the treadmill.
And
I always
I
wondered. I
don't
always
even-
wondered when you got it in.
Yeah, I don't even do cardio like now. I don't even do cardio.
God's favorite. Some people are just blessed. Music.
Music. Escape.
Show prep.
Sleep.
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 Really? All right. Last but not least, United States of America.
I mean, comes to mind is just home.
Oh, went with the politically safe answer right there.
No, I mean it's like it's funny. Like I just think of home.
No, for sure, brother. I can't thank you enough, man.
Oh, thank you for having me.
One thing, last thing we'll do before we wrap up. This is called the I Am Redemption podcast. It's not talking about me. Anybody can be a redemption. Everybody who's been through shit and found their redemption story. So if you would, man, if you wouldn't mind, your camera's right there. If you want to take a look into the camera and let them know who Sam is.
All right. I am unbreakable. And that's all I got.
Let's fucking go. That was perfect, dude. That was perfect. Brother, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. Dude, you're an inspiration to me still this day. We need to get a lift in.
Oh,
ASAP.
yeah, absolutely.